What's going on, guys? This is Kyle Carroll from MyMMAnews.com and Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. Tonight, I am joined with special guest. We got Willber Garcia here, who's fighting on the Lou Neglia's Combat at the Space in Westbury, at the Space at Westbury Theater. Wilbur, how you doing?
Pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast, man. This is pretty cool.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. I know we were talking about before we got on here, but tell everyone where you're from and how you got into MMA and mixed martial arts.
Yeah, started wrestling sometime in middle school, and I never really had an idea of what was going to be my thing. I never knew what my thing was going to be. I was a soccer player first, and I joined wrestling, and after that first match, you're like, what the hell is this? Your body's all pumped up, veins everywhere, and I'm like, this sport is insane. So I continue wrestling through high school and college a little bit, and then I'm like, I don't know how to fight. I know how to wrestle, but I don't know how to fight. So once I saw TJ Dillashaw, all those guys in the UFC, I'm like, man, I gotta learn how to strike, So I hit up Tiger Showman's, and I feel like I'm at the right spot. I chose the right spot for sure, 100%.
That's awesome. And you said you also teach at Tiger Shulman in Hauppauge. You're training there. Tell us a little bit about your fight that's coming up. You're fighting Ortega at Lou Neglia's card on February 1st. It's a Saturday. Tell us a little bit about the fight coming up and what you expect from your opponent, Ortega.
Yeah, so I actually saw him fight one of our guys. His name is Mugen. You check him out, Mugen Shmakov. He's a great fighter of Tiger Shulman, so shout out to Mugen. I saw both guys fight at MSG at the theater. So
Awesome.
He's a tough kid. He's a tough kid. Very tough kid. So I'm expecting a brawl. If there's a chance for a brawl, then I'm ready. And I like the spotlight. I live for the spotlight. So that's good.
Okay. And you're used to being a wrestler. You mentioned you wrestled in college at Nassau Community College.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that transition from wrestling to mixed martial arts and kickboxing.
Yeah. So I guess in the grappling, perspective, I would say it was easy, but not physically. It was more of a mental thing, because wrestling does test you, in a very mental way, as you know. So I always told myself there's no tougher sport than wrestling. So if I could survive wrestling, I could do MMA. So it was a good transition. And then I realized that it was a whole different world because you got to put everything together now. I was like, I wasn't used to going on my back, so I had to learn, basically start from scratch, like everybody, like pretty much everybody. So.
Well, wrestlers, you was talking about, you don't want to go on your back, where jiu-jitsu, a lot of guys kind of jump right to their butt and kind of scoot around on their back.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to, I guess, the aggression going forward, kind of pull back a little bit and kind of dissect things a little bit more as you approach the grappling match, the aspect of everything?
Same thing. Pressure. Wrestling does teach you a lot of pressure. So the fact that I have that, in my disposal whenever I need to use it, it's always there. And I think just naturally, when there's a wrestler that goes into MMA, you'll see that a lot. They're always coming forward. The discipline's there, the work ethic's there, and the mental toughness.
Absolutely. And we can hop right in. I know there's a couple of things you wanted to speak about, but life experiences and how it can affect the way you fight. Tell us a little bit about that and how your life has kind of shaped the way you fight inside the cage, the ring.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too personal, but I come from a country that that there's a lot of gang crisis, and then come to the U.S. I always felt like I needed, revenge or like some sort of payback, and I was trying to find my voice in something. That's why I said never really had an outlet, you know. So once I found wrestling, I felt like I had a voice, you know. I felt like I was something. It made me feel like something, and uh, like and any other person can take their life experiences, you know, like relationships or friendships or even family issues, and just apply that to martial arts. And I think that's good because I rather fuel, you know, all my anger or sadness or whatever it is, and just put it into the mat, you know, and instead of just causing bad things.
What country did you come from?
El Salvador.
Okay. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I've seen shows where the gang issue is a big issue down there. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
like talking about trying to live with skills and just trying to move forward and get past a lot of that stuff. Um, what's something that I feel like you think everyone should be involved in? You think everyone should be like, obviously MMA teaches discipline and self control and all sorts of aspects in your life, like a lot of sports do. Is this something you believe everyone should be participating in?
You should definitely, you know, follow some sort of an exercise routine. It doesn't always have to be martial arts. You know, you could join, you know, a swimming club. You know, for all I care, you could jog every morning. You know, something that keeps you active, makes you feel good about yourself. Because I feel like, you know, without, I mean, my sport, you know, I almost feel like I feel empty without it. So if everybody finds their own outlet, I feel like they're gonna walk around with a voice. So that's good.
Absolutely. And another thing I see have put down, you talking about living, like living on the edge, emotional, mental battles within the sport. As we know, you hear people say, the sport of wrestling or mixed martial arts is 90% mental, 10% physical. Tell us a little bit about some of the mental and physical battles that you've had to go through as an athlete.
Definitely. I said like the physical part of it, it's always gonna be there. You know, you're around um, you know, like killers, man. You're around like people that are pros and amateurs. You have no choice but to work hard. You know, like there's no cheating in the sport. Um, but it's the mental aspect of it is just, first of all, the weight cut. You know, everybody talks. Well, not everybody talks about the weight cut, but when you are weight cutting, it does change your mind a little bit. You know, the way you think. I was like, you're just putting your body um, in a very uncomfortable position, and you gotta overcome that. You know, and you question yourself, like, oh, you know, why am I doing this? You know, like you can literally pass out. Like, you know, the last few days, it's like the you know about this, right? The last few pounds are the hardest ones to cut, but that's living on the edge. You know, like some people, you know, those cave guys that go into the cave. You know, and they go into the cave, and you know, that's living in the edge. You know, like people ask them, like, why the hell do you do that? Because it makes them feel good. You know, it's something to look forward to. So it's the same way I feel about getting in the cage or the mat. You know, I'm like, why are you getting busted up? Like, you know, I get beat up all the time, and it's brutal. Like, but it's, again, it's living on the edge. When you walk out of there, like, you feel like you can do anything. You know.
You're about to enter into your third fight. When you're walking out there now, I know you've done this in high school and college wrestling. Now with you fighting, what's running through your mind? Obviously, I feel like anyone who says they're not nervous, maybe a little crazy, but
Hmm.
definitely impressive if you're not. But feel like most guys are nervous and they're going through. What is some things mentally you go through, like a checklist, as you're walking down and about to enter the ring, so you don't, go through like that adrenaline dump that everyone talks about? How do you avoid that happening?
So, believe it or not, I don't know if it's just me, but of course, I feel nervous. Absolutely. You know, my palms are sweaty and everything. But, you know, I guess a few minutes before I get in the cage, I mean, it's like blank. Like, I'm just living the moment. It's like, I don't even think, you know, I just go. And, and once I get in there, I'm like, shit. like I'm in here. Like I got no escape. Like I don't, I can't do anything about it. Um, because the preparation's already there. Like you went through all the hard work. So you can be the hardest worker in the room, I think, but those nerves, I think they're always gonna be there. They're always gonna be there, especially the night before. You're thinking about the fight. It's like, man, I can get knocked out. Man, what if this happens? What if that? But that's what it is. That, again, living on the edge, right? Like putting yourself at risk. That's what gives us life.
Absolutely. And outside of the cage, outside of the mat where you're training, what do you do for fun? What do you use to take your mind off of it and kind of refocus that mental energy to something you enjoy doing aside from fighting and competing, but now you do it, for your own enjoyment. It's just you, no one else is getting any enjoyment or any gain out of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's thanks for the question, man. That's a great question. Well, because I feel like a lot of fighters do a lot of things outside, not just fight. Um, so first off, I teach, and that I think that's what brings life to me because I teach kids, and when I see kids and they're doing stuff I teach them and competitions and stuff like that, like I see myself in them. I'm like, man, I wish I was doing that when I was their age. Um, but that makes me feel good about myself. That I can give something back. In order to balance out this, like the craziness, because it does get loud in your head. I draw. I like to paint. I draw. I do music, stuff like that. Like hobbies there and there that will balance out my my emotions and stuff because it's very loud. You're training for a fight. You're teaching. The world of MMA is a very loud place, so I think that calms me down a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you enjoy painting. Now, we're talking about, say, like support system and discipline. You're talking about being a coach. I myself coach high school wrestling in the past. I've coached high school football. How much of that coaching helps you as an athlete? You see things differently when you're coaching and you're giving a student pointers and kind of correcting them and helping them in the right direction. How much does that help you as an athlete?
A lot, a lot. And you just reminded me of one thing. Quick story. Um, Me missing weight. So, I was a captain. I was a captain of the team, the high school team, and I missed weight one tournament, and I just kind of overheard my coach tell all my teammates, and I was like, oh, not my captain anymore, and I'm like, wow. So I had to rebuild myself. I had to gain his respect again. But that just tells you, right? Like you got to have leadership. Like you got to have leadership for your team. You have to be. You have to walk. What you preach. So there's another story, right? One time I was sick. I was probably a little ill, and I didn't show up to practice. And then my coach is like, he got me the next day. He was like, why didn't you show up to practice? I was like, oh, because I was sick. I was like, well, you can still come, show yourself, be there for the team. So I'm not now throughout these years, as a coach, as a trainer, I see all these things, it's all about discipline. I was like, oh, now I get it. You have to set an example for everybody else. You got to be a leader, not missing weight, being professional about things, doing the right thing. And then, so it does play a lot. It does play a lot.
Absolutely. I totally understand what you're saying. Like as a coach, it's funny because when you're an athlete on the team, especially in high school, you hear your coach say it to you like, you just want to brush him off and say whatever. It's not really going to make a difference. But as you get older, it's amazing how much all those things, how important they are to not just bettering yourself as an athlete, but just as a human overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, leadership. You don't know what leadership is until somebody puts you on that pedestal, and then you're like, oh man, so I guess I'm a good role model, so I gotta step up my game.
Absolutely. And support system, and we briefly talking about discipline. Just a little bit about the support system that you have to compete. You're an amateur fighter. You're not really getting paid. You might get paid from sponsorships. I don't know if you have any, but
Nope.
uh, you're working, you're coaching and teaching. Like, tell us a little bit about the support system that you got that helps you get through the tough days.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm gonna talk about Tiger Showman's a little bit. So in Tiger Showman's, we have great structure. So we have our headquarters up in New Jersey, where all the amateurs and instructors and pro fighters train. We got a couple of UFC guys in there at our camp. So let's just bring up a kid that maybe they don't have a support system back at home, right?
Mhm.
And they like training and they go to headquarters and stuff like that. They're around, these high level instructors that will have their back. They're in a cage, they're constantly coaching them, whether it's like about nutrition or fighting or teaching. The support system at in our organization is huge, and not a lot of people realize that, but um I'm very thankful for that I have a lot of different levels, everywhere I go. So that's amazing. Oh, you cut off. There you go. Now I can hear you. Oh, I can't hear you now. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. I got you.
Sorry about that. Knocked it out. You're talking about the gym and the structure and the coaches and all. I feel like a lot of amateur guys kind of like they look for that, but a lot of them fade out because they don't always have that kind of structure within the gym and um,
Yes.
come from gyms that aren't strong enough to support their amateur careers because a lot of guys fight for a long time in amateur and then go pro, or even when they turn
Yeah.
pro, they haven't gotten earned or learned the skill that makes
Yep.
you better fighter from amateur to pro. And speaking of which, I know you're about to enter your third fight, but you know what would you believe you have to do as a fighter to become ready to fight as a professional?
Just consistency. Just keep on going forward. Again, I'm around. I might not be training with the pros right now, but I see them. I see everything they do, how they train, what they live by. So just being around people like that, you learn just bits and pieces, and you take that home, and you just stay consistent when you're training. And yeah, sooner or later, you become the people that you surround yourself with. So I strongly believe in that. And talk about structure. Um, for example, and in Tiger Showman's, we keep it very basic. We keep the fundamentals, because those are the things that you're going to be using in the fight. You know, you could, like the
Yeah,
jab, cross, and the hook. Those are the fundamentals that you're going to be using in the fight. But in terms of structure and management, we tend to have our fighters do kickboxing fights first, and after they get comfortable in their stand up, then they start doing MMA. And I
okay.
think that's that's pretty genius, because I mean, if you know how to defend yourself and you're a pretty good grappler, and if you start doing MMA, like you could be a problem. So that's good. Not a lot of gyms have that. I see some fighters that go straight to MMA, but they don't really have. They're missing puzzles there and there, and uh, uh, I don't fully agree with that.
Absolutely. And I think a good example of what you're talking about is a guy like Bo Nickel, who I'm a huge fan of on the US
Yes.
level. Tremendous
Hmm.
wrestler, 4-time finalist, 3-time national champion. And he's a phenomenal wrestler. No, I don't think anyone's going to compete with him in the division. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, he's trying to learn the boxing and the striking and the jiu-jitsu aspect of the game. And I think so. Like I know he's an elite fighter, so it's obviously he's able to jump in and do that. But he's training in this gym, probably a little bit more on the striking aspect of things.
Yeah, exactly. And you see vice versa. You locally you see it too. Again, some people do a lot of MMA and they don't really have uh, a good startup, a good career starting up because they're missing, striking fundamentals and stuff like that. So that's why I like
Absolutely.
about Tiger Showman's structure that we keep it basic, and I like the kickboxing first and then, get your feet wet with MMA. It's good. It's good.
How can people find Tiger Shulman where you're training and coaching? How can they find you if they want to sign up and participate and get involved?
Absolutely. So there's, we're all over the place. We got, I think 60 plus schools over Long Island and New Jersey, and in Connecticut, I think in Pennsylvania as well. But yeah, just first what we do is we have them take an orientation class, a good 40-minute or introduction class, so they can kind of try it out. Generally we start everybody with kickboxing, and just for them to see what we're all about. Some gyms would sometimes throw the people into the mat right away, and I think that's the great idea. But we do an orientation first, make sure your kid likes it, or if it's an adult, make sure they like it, and they start taking classes. We've evolved. We've pretty much evolved from karate and into MMA. The Showman brothers did a phenomenal job doing that. It's pretty good.
Awesome. So 3 questions before I let you go.
Yep.
First question is, what are your goals right now? Short term, long term. What are your goals in the sport and combat sports?
I'm taking it day by day. I definitely want to own a school one day. A Tiger Showman school. That's a long-term goal. I don't think that's going to happen, next week. It takes time to build that. And short-term goals, I guess I am a match by match person. I'm pretty sure you've heard that too from your coaches. Take it one match at a time. It's how I do things. Like I can't rush into things. I gotta take it day by day. So that's short-term goals. Short-term goals. I just go day by day.
Excellent. Awesome. What's one thing about you that nobody knows and you'd like to share with everyone?
Man, I'm very outgoing when I'm at my job. So I don't want to put myself in the spot. I guess I like doing a lot of things. I paint, I draw, I do music. I'm always like everywhere. So just to find my balances. But I can't just do one thing at a time. I think that's a bit boring. Just being one dimensional. You got to mix it up a little bit. You got to have some. You got to have a soft spot. You got to have a hard spot. You got to have in between. You got to have everything. So I think a lot of people don't realize that I do those things, and I think that's important. To balance out your life.
Absolutely. We got Joey H here saying Will is an amazing singer and artist, as well as can kick your ass.
He's one of our instructors as well at our school. Yeah.
Awesome. Prediction for your fight on February 1st for Lou Neglia's Combat at this space.
I think I will get the W. I think I will come out with the victory. I believe in our training so much that it's already a given. We're very technical. We keep it simple. We don't overwhelm each other. And and everybody's tough. But when you have technique and power and heart, man, all that put together, I think that's what I have. And even if it's a tough fight, I think I'll still come out, victorious.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to commentating your fight alongside Ally Quinta, UFC veteran. He's always a pleasure to call the fights with, but I'm looking forward to seeing you get in there and competing again. Willber, it's always a pleasure, and I hope to get you on here again in the future. Definitely talk more in depth about wrestling and combat sports as well. Any
Yeah.
last, do you have any sponsors or anyone you want to recognize before we wrap this up?
No, just quick shout outs, to Sensei Bonet. He's my head instructor. All the guys that my family, my Tiger Showman's family, back in my gym. That's a huge support system too. They always want to go to my fights. Always want to see me prosper. So I can't thank them enough. And just want to give them a shout out. Really quick, but it's pretty much it. Pretty much it. And I really do hope we talk in the future and we get deep into wrestling and much more.
Absolutely. February 1st, if you want to get tickets, how can they get tickets? You still have some?
I got a bunch. They're $55 standard seats. If not, just go to the space at Westbury, get yourself in there, and enjoy some fights.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Willber Garcia, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. Best of luck on February 1st. I'm looking forward to calling this fight. Have a great one. Good luck.
Thank you, man. You too. Thank you.
We're signing off.